welcome to the Sunday morning show. Lots to get through in this show, and also I'm not sure I've got enough time to even edit the video that we're trying to create today. So let's see how we get on, shall we? Oh, well, first thing I've noticed is my eyes. Wow. Do you know, it's that time of year, isn't it, where when the kids go back to school, the weather changes, and when the weather changes, the temperature drops. And when the temperature drops, they all get these like little colds and snivelly bits. I've now got that, I'm afraid. So probably not slept great last night, but this is why my eyes are a little bit struggling. However, got my coffee. Hope you've got your coffee too. Make sure you put the kettle on and let's get, I used to sell these, you know, little Sunday morning show mugs. Fantastic they were, a couple of years back. However, when I was posting them out, they were arriving without the handles on because they were breaking in the post, so we had to stop doing them. But I think we should try and get them back on the road again. If I can come up with a plan, so if any of you out there know of a mug that we could create, that everybody could have their own Sunday morning show mug, where the handles don't break, let me know down in the comments. So as I said, lots to get through today. I'm in the office and I want to give you a little bit of a tour really, because I've changed it around a little bit. Decluttered? No, I haven't decluttered, but I've definitely moved things about and I just want to show that with you. Oh look, there he goes, look. Turn the first, bailed out to the right hand side. So 240 yards to be fair, so it's like a 2-iron for him. So filming this on Wednesday, he's going out for the Wednesday competition by the look of it. Plays every Wednesday morning at about 7:30 in the morning. He goes out with a group from Srixon, so it's quite nice to get him out there. He needs to phone me back, so if you're watching Bernie, phone me back because we're playing tomorrow. Me, you and Lee doing the reunion match down at Loo Golf Club, going to Loo Golf Club. So yeah, busy one we've got going on. I'm actually heading up to see Joe the Pro. I hope you've enjoyed this week's videos on our scramble, anyway, tour. I call it a tour pro-am style format, of which you're trying to get under par. You use the best drive and then you're trying to shoot under par for your own score from there. Hope you enjoyed that. Love doing that. It was fantastic fun. Great to get Zach Gould involved. Great to get my brother and Joe the Pro back on the channel. But I'm heading up to see Joe because it's Tinker Day. Yeah, we want to have a little look at some of the clubs that I've been using. As you know, I've been experimenting with a few different drivers and things like that. Got a bit of an idea of what I want to achieve. And that's a very good question, isn't it? What do you want to achieve? I've just done a little update of like a what's in the bag. The reason why I did it is because I actually completely forgot what clubs I was using by the time I'd gone to the first tournament, which was what we played last week in the 4-ball championship. Turned up, pulled out the driver, had no idea that that driver was the driver that I was continuing to use. So anyway, I thought today we'd go up and see Joe the Pro and have a little tinker around with a shaft that I've found. And it's been a little bit almost frustrating in the fact that because I've finished obviously with Titleist, it was so easy, wasn't it? Could get Titleist products whenever I kind of wanted them, and I just kind of stuck with what I had because ultimately I'm in a 14 club contract with them, therefore I had to use what they provided, which was great, and I still use a lot of that equipment. But it kind of took me away from doing all this like testing and tinkering and this, that and the other, and I just, it's got to the point now where I'm just like, I need to find some stuff that I'm just happy with and stick with it. Which I actually think is a great message for lots of you out there. Find something you love, stick with it. You know, like my 5-wood. Why am I tinkering around with 5-woods? Why am I messing about with that club? It's a club that's performed so well for me over the years. I kind of think like my putter and my 5-wood, two of the most strongest clubs in my bag, don't mess about. Stick with them. Stick with what you know. However, when I have done my testing, I kind of thought I'll do a video, which I haven't done yet. I haven't even filmed the video, and I think probably now the video is going to be a bit void, but we'll see. I found, remember that? The 907 D1 driver. I mean, this driver was a little bit unique, should we say? Because if you look down at it, look at the shape of that. There's not a lot of roundedness in that shape, is there? Very triangular at the back of that driver, almost like a cone shape. Now, this particular driver back in the day was one of the drivers that helped save my driving. It's massively high in its MOI. It's a very spinny kind of head. And for those of you golfers out there that do struggle with, let's say, hitting fairways, not necessarily struggling with length off the tee, but people that generally struggle with hitting fairways a little bit all over the place, which was me back in the day, finding a driver that gives you loads of spin isn't going to get you out there the furthest, but what it is going to do is it's going to help you keep you on the straight and narrow a little bit. Anyway, when I was testing this driver, the shaft that was in it is an old V2, Pro Force VT, UST shaft. It's just a stiff flex, but the testing that I've done with that Srixon driver is that the slightly heavier shaft gives me a little bit less torque at the bottom of the club and therefore gives me a little bit more stability, a little bit more control. Well, when I hit this driver, I thought, wow, I just felt it. I thought, oh my goodness, that feels so good. It's 76 gram, it's 2.2 in the torque, so it's quite low in that torque area. However, and it's particularly short as well, so it's probably 44, 44 and a half, 44 and 3/4 inch kind of in the shaft length. We'll have to test it out with Joe by the time we put a tip on the end. Let's see what that kind of comes out like with. But what I want to do with Joe today is I want to take the head off this particular driver so I can keep the shaft, put a new sleeve on the shaft, and then it gives me the shaft that I really love the feel of, and then I can play around with a few Titleist heads. We'll put the Titleist sleeve on there and just chuck it into a few of my heads and just see how it performs. So we will be heading up to see Joe, but let's give you a little bit of a tour of the office. Normal front door, as you can see. However, I've built a wall. Can you see that? It gets a bit dark. I've built this like wall, and the idea of this is it's going to allow me to be able to do some presentations from here. Remember, I make lots of foremost videos. I've got some other ideas moving forward in the future for 2025, but it enables me to be able to create a set so I can then do my videos from here, so therefore I don't have to go too far away from, let's say, the office. It just makes it so much easier for filming. Now, don't get me wrong, not quite finished yet. Obviously, these are plasterboard. I've got an idea of what I want to put over the top of this plasterboard, give it a really nice kind of finish. I've then got to get some kind of lighting that shines up here, and then I've got the old Sunday morning show kind of desk there. I don't know what we're going to do with that, maybe make our own new desk for creating the content that I want to create. So that's the new addition, of which is why I've had to move kind of everything around in the office. But that's the new addition, which I actually think is going to help me massively for the future with the type of content that I'm going to be making in the future. Then we've got Jordan's desk. He's situated right next to that. If you see behind the wall, it's a bit of a mess at the moment because I've just made a coffee, but there's the kitchen area, which has always kind of been there, but that's the kitchen area where the wall has kind of separated it now. And then across there we've got what I call my boardroom table, and then next to that is my station, which is where we were doing the two-ball golf show setup, which was there, and then this is it, and then the storage area, the dumping ground, is kind of at the back there. So there's the office all set up, ready to go for future proofing, should we say. Right, spoke to you a little bit about this 2-iron, didn't I, last week? Talked about the X16 Pro Series 2-irons, got I think an X100 shaft in it. Going to have a chat with Joe the Pro about this particular club as well, because I am getting hold of a whole set of these Pro Series irons. A friend of mine who I'm going up to see this weekend with my brother, he has got my old set, my old college set. Now, the great thing about the X16 Pro Series irons, Pro Series X16, let's get that right, they have got very traditional lofts on them. I've always sort of talked about this. I think Callaway was so far ahead in the day. They made forgiving irons, but with traditional lofts. So you're going to guarantee you're going to get some decent spin out of it, decent control, but with the forgiveness. Now, I use these clubs all the way through college golf to some decent effect. So I'm going to drag them back off of him, give him something else to use, and see if we can have a little tinker around with them. I know that they've got X100 shafts in them, which are probably a little bit too stiff for me now, but going to have a chat with Joe the Pro, talk about maybe the X100 shaft as well, just to get an idea of a bit more about it. But yeah, so that's quite exciting, isn't it? Maybe finding a set of clubs that are super forgiving, but also got the traditional lofts to give me that control. And the last thing I wanted to mention to you before we head off and go see Joe the Pro, Jordan's told me that I've had to tell you this because he set it up in the shop. If you buy a DHG Special Edition Ryder Cup head cover, whether it's a fairway one, which is the one in my hand, or the driver one, which we've got a few of those left. Jordan's ordered in some special edition scrubbers. Just got the DHG logo on them. These are going to come free of charge with any purchase of the Ryder Cup head covers. So go and check it out in the shop. Little ticker bar here telling you how to get there. And it's also in the description of this video. Go and check it out if you want to get some merch from the DHG shop. Thank you for your support on that as well, because it does help hugely. However, let's now head over to Joe the Pro's house up in North Devon. And there he is. The man, the myth, the legend.
Here I am.
How did you feel the Vale of Glamorgan went?
It was fun, wasn't it? It was a shame the first day got rained out because we were on for a massive comeback there.
Yeah, we were.
So Paul's claiming a victory, but he was gone when he missed that little putt. So that was a shame. Lovely place, loved the course. Good to play with Zach, actually. Really enjoyed playing with Zach. I'd never played with Zach before. We grew up sort of, kind of together and had a lot to do with the Celtic. It was really nice to get to spend a bit of time with him. He's actually a really nice guy, isn't he?
Yeah, and what about the format that we played at on the National then?
Yeah, I'm pushing for that to just be golf in general, because it's so much more fun standing on a tee knowing there's 3 other people that can hit the fairway for you, isn't there? So I'd love that to be golf. So yeah, if someone can do something about that at the RNA, that would be great.
Tinker, tinker, tinker. This is what we do. This is what you do.
Yeah, we're always searching, and we're back in the garage, back in the lab.
A few drivers that I've brought up with me. I've already talked to the audience a little bit about the driver that I had in mind and my thoughts on that. But I just wanted to get an idea of what this Srixon one is playing like.
Yes.
Of which here it is. And ultimately, this isn't my driver, so I kind of really love the look of it, love the feel of it. I have to be hitting it quite well for it to perform for me. So
okay.
I can't just like fairway find it. I have to be performing, I have to be hitting it, committed to the shots. So I wanted to get your ideas on what that one performs like, and then can we get my Black Ops PXG to perform maybe a little bit closer to it, and then also talk about that shaft that I've found, that UST old bad boy.
It's an oldie bit of goldie. Well, we've looked at this, haven't we? So I've sort of split it up. So it's 45.5 inches. It's swing weight in it around D4.
Yeah.
Which is relatively heavy at that length, but that's because this head has quite a lot of hot melt in it, isn't it? We took the head off, we weighed it, it's 204 and a bit grams, whereas some of the others we're working with are kind of like the low 190s. So yeah, we can have a bit of a tinker around, aren't we, and see what we can get close enough to this.
Yeah. Now that one there
is old, very old.
To save just a little bit of time, I actually took the ferrule off.
That's kind of you, well done.
I cut it just to save a bit of time. So that's come off now, all right?
What are you hoping to achieve here?
Well, basically this one, as I've said before to my audience, is the one that feels so good. I used to use this shaft for a long time, and then when they stopped making that shaft, should we say, or stopped putting it in current heads, that's when I kind of left it alone. But I mean, I remember that one first coming out back in my county days, back in 2001, I think this first got released.
Well, if you're wanting to use the shaft, I've got some slightly bad news for you.
Okay.
It's a bore through hosel here. So what that means is, you know what it means, but for everyone at home, the shaft goes in here, but it goes all the way up to and seats right at the bottom here. And ordinarily in the modern shafts, the hosel might stop
there,
sort of there.
Yeah.
This has got at least another inch on that, and is then cut at an angle. So we've basically got 3 inches here of unusable shaft. I've never taken one of these out, which could be really hard work and I could ruin the shaft.
Yeah.
Secondly, even if we do get it out and get it in a usable state, we're going to have to trim 2 inches probably off the tip end, so that the roughed area inside here, that the shaft have to be roughed up right to go in and prep. So that'll be blackened, and you can see little bits of it there where it's been scratched and stuff to create the abrasive. So that'll look awful under there. You'd have an inch of that sticking out, which will be horrendous. And I don't want to put my name to that, Dan.
No, that's fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough. So, and actually, you know, how much would we have to cut it to get it to play actually anything like what it currently is?
If we're just cutting it cosmetically so that the rubbish bit didn't stick out, it's going to play two flexes stiffer in the tip end. So it's not going to be the shaft you wanted in the first place anyway. So I don't like that idea.
No, leave that one then. So let's focus now on my Black Ops driver. because obviously I love the performance of this, as in I love the look of the head.
It's great, isn't it?
But I just feel that it's quite, obviously it's a little bit longer than what I'm liking from that Srixon, but it's also
well, should we quantify it rather than saying a little bit? So your PXG playing length is bang on 45.5 inches, and the Srixon that you've been loving is, I mean, it's 44 3/4 really.
Yeah.
Playing length. So we've got 3/4 of an inch there. So you've already spoken to me about this, and my thoughts are, I mean, this isn't going to be exact because you're looking just to get it playing a bit more like it, and we've got two different shafts. We've got a 6S in the Ventus Blue in your Black Ops, and you've got a 7S TR Ventus in this. So the TR is a bit stiffer, a bit stouter to start with. Plus we've got additional weight here. But you just said to me this one feels a little bit light and a little bit soft.
Yeah.
So my first thought is, if we wanted to get it a little bit closer, is we can pull this tip off.
Yeah.
We can match it up in length to this shaft from the tip end, which will stiffen it up. So that's the process called tipping, where you take material off the tip end, that stoutens up the shaft, makes it just play a little bit tighter and a little bit stiffer. So that'll benefit us in two ways. It'll make that shaft feel a little bit more like that one in terms of stiffness, and we lose a little bit of length, so it gets to match the same length. We're still going to have the weight issues because this head's only 192, I think it was, we measured, whereas that's 204. So we're going to have to do something clever down the road, maybe a little bit.
Later
we spoke about getting a hot melt gun.
Yeah.
We spoke about putting lead tape on, but for now we can get it closer by tipping that, the corresponding amount to that, and then it'll be a bit tighter, certainly in length and flex profile.
Perfect, because a lot of it, even though weight is obviously important, it's how it feels, the rigidness down the bottom when I'm coming into impact.
Yeah, so it's not stable enough for you.
That's what it feels like. Great fairway finder.
Yep.
But if I want to lean on that and bomb it, it just spins like crazy and I get nothing kind of out of it.
Perfect. Well, that's why most of the tour guys do it. So they're putting a lot of speed into it. So even in their TX shafts, standard tipping on tour with a Ventus product would be 1 inch.
Yeah.
This probably hasn't been tipped at all. In fact, I can work that out from my other shafts where these graphics go.
Yeah.
This probably hasn't been tipped at all as standard for you. So if we can just get that matching up with that, it's probably going to be 3/4 to 1 inch off that. That'll tighten it up.
So to remove the sleeve then, it's got a shaft extractor, which is a graphite shaft extractor, which is slightly different, isn't it, from a steel?
It is. Yeah, you can abuse the steel a bit and heat it as much as you want and pull heads off, twist them, do whatever you need to do to get them off. But graphite, you've just got to be a little bit more careful, because obviously if you overheat and you twist graphite when it's hot, there's a very good chance you're going to warp the shaft, ruin the fibres at the end, fray the shaft, all sorts of stuff. Which weirdly in this scenario for us, as we're cutting off a little of the tip, a lot of the tip after this, wouldn't be the end of the world, but we still don't want to
affect the shaft in any way.
Yeah, we still don't want to adversely affect that at all. So that's the tip off.
Brilliant. And the good thing about a PXG sleeve that comes on the top of there is there's no ferrule, is there? The ferrule's almost like built in.
Ferrule's built in, and that's not like a soft, burnable, meltable rubber. So yeah, we don't have to be too careful with that. So that's great. So next step is, we already know we're getting 3/4 of an inch off the tip of this. So before I even bother to clean this, I'm going to cut it, because I don't need to clean stuff we're going to cut off.
Absolutely.
So this shaft cutter from Golf Mechanics is really good because it's already got the measurements on here, so I can just see how much I'm going to cut off without having to measure and write on it. So we're at 3/4 of an inch there. Pass it through, give it a little twist as it's cutting. And that's the 3/4 of an inch off. Give the end a little bit of a go on the side of the wheel, just to take away any sharp or frayed edges. And make sure that's off.
So whereas normally you would have to then like drill out any glue that's sort of in there, because we've cut it out, is that in there still? Or
yeah, we've got to check. In theory, you would hope there's no more glue up there. I mean, I can see straight through that already.
Yeah. So
I'm assuming there's no glue down this, but let's check. We'll just pop a little drill bit in there and check there's nothing untoward going on. Yeah, no, so that goes down there absolutely fine. So if there was glue in there, we'd have to clean it out, because that would create a vacuum and would keep pushing the head off. So we've now got a perfectly usable shaft So all we got to do now this is a bit cooler. We'll clean that out, and then we've got to work out how much of the tip section, because I'm going to have to abrade this tip with a Stanley blade.
Yeah.
Make sure it's a bit rougher so the glue sticks to it and that tip stays on. So let's find out how much we've got to play with.
Just out of curiosity then, so this shaft is obviously not a parallel shaft?
It's parallel to a point.
Is
yeah,
it?
so I can't remember what the parallel tip section on most of these graphite shafts, they'll be, I'm going to say 4 to 5 inch, maybe less, probably 4 inches actually, yeah, parallel section at the bottom of the shaft before they start to taper out,
okay,
to allow you to tip it to certain requirements. So some shafts, taper tip iron shafts, will be a certain point at the very tip and then immediately start tapering out wider.
Yeah.
Some shafts, some steel shafts are parallel tip, like you say, like a Project X, which just have that. So they make one shaft and you just cut it to length from the tip, which makes it play the correct flex as well. But yeah, most of these premium graphite shafts will have a certain length of parallel section before going into taper to allow you to mess around with them.
Right.
Right, so that is super clean and ready to go. So the next thing we need to know is we're all tipped and prepped. So we need to know how much of this material to take off here, because it won't stick to this nice chrome shiny bit. So we'll pop the adapter on. I won't pop it on quite all the way. I'll give myself about 1 millimetre of leeway. Then I'm going to just mark around the perimeter of the shaft with a Stanley blade. So I've got a line to cut to. Set that aside, and then I'm literally just going to, with the edge of the blade, take away the paint.
Yeah. So on a tour van, you're not going to see a fitter kind of using a Stanley blade like this. What would they use to roughen that up?
You'd be surprised. Some still do. Some like the old ways. Other people will use, which I'll finish it off with. We've got a belt over here. Yeah. We can just turn the belt on and just get the last little bits off. But I was always taught this way. There's a couple of guys, some of the older builders on tour will still do it this way. Just because you've got so much more control? Yeah, you're controlling the depth. If you go onto a belt that's too abrasive and you lean a bit too hard, you can take too much shaft off. Yeah. You've really got control, I feel, with the blade here, just to make sure that it's really uniform and you've got enough abrasive surface for it to stick to. Perfect. So then we're all prepped, then you just double check, you can pop your tip back on. We know now that tip's covering that rough section, and we can just glue it and we're good to go. Glue time then. Correct. So you use a special, I mean we talked about this on previous videos, but you use special glue to, it's not just Pritt stick, is it? That's sticking these together? Yeah, it's called Scotch Weld 810 DP, and it's what they use on the tour vans. It's especially, it's very, just adding a bit of sand here to make sure that the shaft goes in centrally, because you can get some lean otherwise if there's any gaps. So yeah, so that glue is very, very shock resistant, if you like, impact resistant. So there's some glues that are very, very strong if you're like putting a constant low pressure on them. But obviously that's not what we have in golf. We've got like a very sharp, short whack. Incredible speeds that you create, Dan. I do, yeah. And getting stronger. And getting stronger. So we've got to make sure we've got something that does the job there. So you get those two-part epoxy, mix it up like mad. The more you mix it, the stronger it's going to be. So once you've got it mixed, I like to do a good sort of 30-40 seconds at least. And how long does that take to dry? This stuff, like, you could probably hit within 10 minutes. Really? It's amazing, isn't it? But I like to leave it as long as possible. So I tend to do, if I'm doing club work for myself, I'll at least do it the night before and give it overnight, just for my peace of mind. But yeah, if you were really in a hurry, you could probably go after 10 minutes. Right, so we're good, we're mixed up. Happy with that. Then we're going to just roll the shaft in it. So we're going to coat that whole area that we've just roughed up. You can hear my wife coming home, Dan. Wow, that's amazing. Electric cars. She must have heard there was some fun going on and has come to stop it. Yeah. There she is. Then we're going to get the T-peg and we're going to pop that in there. Bit of epoxy. And interestingly, you always put the sleeve back in the head? Yeah, it just helps with alignment. Because obviously when we put this head on, we want the graphics going in the right place. Hello, Mrs. F. So head goes on. I like to give it a little spin around to make sure that glue's everywhere.
Yeah.
Line those graphics up down the back. We're probably going to do it with the grip, so we know that we want that venter straight down the back, so when we look at the top of it, there's going to be nothing out of alignment. Give this a quick clean up with some tissue, make sure there's no excess glue coming out. Head's still moving around a little bit, which is fine because it's not set yet. So we'll get that back in its correct orientation. We're going to pop it up here to rest. Now I can see from dead square on here that that grip is a little bit pointing to the right in a vertical position.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to change it so it's central.
Perfect.
Then we've got its final resting place. Give it 10 minutes of that and it'll all be good to go. So now we've got it at 44.5-inch playing length, which matches the Srixon. Hopefully a closer shaft profile now. So we have got the 6S versus the 7S TR, but we've tipped this now, so that'll play a little bit stouter. So we're getting just closer and closer to that Srixon playing sort of setup that you had before. Now the last thing we need to do, which we're going to have to figure out, is getting the head weighted up.
Which we're not going to do today because we don't have...
I don't have a hot melt gun anymore, and I don't have any lead tape on me, so we're heading up to Saunton in a bit, aren't we? So we maybe ask up there, see if they might have some lead tape knocking around.
Okay. We'll ask our good friend Andy and see if he's got anything, and if they do, then we'll hit a couple of shots on the golf course, just give everybody a bit of an insight into how it actually feels and performs for me.
Perfect. DH.
Love this.
Fresh out of Joe's tour van with his new PXG tipped driver, flushing it.
Running as well, isn't it?
Lovely shot, Dan.
I want the summer to end, you know. All done, Joe. Got your gilet on right at the end there.
Got it right in
Look
there.
at that. It's lovely, that, isn't it?
Thank you, mate.
Very nice. Right, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Joe for this setup, because
We did a good job there, didn't we?
we did do a good job, and I know it's a bit of trial and error, but we've taken it out on the golf course. It feels great. Not only does it feel great when I'm actually playing nicely, but it's also when I'm coming down the last few holes as well, when I was getting tired and fatiguing a little bit. I just feel like there's so much, I got so much control of the bottom of that club. I know that's really hard to explain to people.
It's a nice combination of stable but still light, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you can move it, but you're not overpowering it because we've just added that little bit of stability. It
Yeah.
looked really good. The dispersion was great.
It feels like I can go at it hard, but also it feels like I can find some fairways with it as well, which is actually quite nice. So I don't think at this moment in time we need to play around, let's say, with lead tape or the weight of it. I think let's keep going with it.
I wouldn't mind experimenting because you can just pull that. If we're
Yeah,
hot
that's
melting
true,
it,
yeah.
don't do that.
Don't
But
do that, yeah.
Take it up to take my swing weight machine if you want. Put some lead tape on,
Yeah.
see how it works, going heavier and light. But we know we've got a workable and playable setup right
that's
now.
a good point, actually. Well, obviously, big thank you to Joe. Next week out on the channel, I have no idea what's coming out, to be honest with you. John's been busy beavering away. Hope you've enjoyed what we've put out from the Vale Resort. Big thank you to the Vale Resort as well for having us, because that was great. Big thank you to Zach for being on the channel as well for that.
Did you watch that back and feel really bad about your body? Stood next to Zach.
Oh my God.
I was watching that. It's just,
Did you think I'm
what
going to go
a
to
man.
the gym?
Oh, I did, and then I got hungry, and I didn't.
Right, thank you very much for watching, everybody. See you again very soon.
Right, DH strutting around like Donald Trump. Can you say Donald Trump on YouTube? You probably can't.
He's been on YouTube.
That's true, actually, yeah. Like there. That's as good as I've got, Dan.
That is huge. So we're going to sit down.